Hello guys, welcome back. This is an update video about the zero spec alignment that I have been experimenting with for the past month. Zero spec refers to zero caster, zero Ackermann, almost zero camber, and the secret sauce that makes it all kind of work, 3 millimeters of trail of is that negative trail? Negative trail there. So zero spec. I've been experimenting with it because it really feels like it's had potential to increase my driving accuracy and improve my ability to do really close chase runs, as well as really thorough zone fills in comp. And what better way to test a comp spec setup than to bring it to a competition? I took it to the toughest drift event in my region, the Super Drift Championships, and faced some of the best drivers in the state, possibly some of the best drivers in the country. And ultimately, I think it was a success for the setup. Was not success for me as a driver. I didn't perform absolutely great, but I think it was a great testament to the potential of this setup. And I think with further refinement and further practice, it will be probably my go-to comp spec. Did not think that would be the case. I thought I would end up going back to more of a conventional alignment with caster, but I'm actually really liking this, and I'm going to stick with it and keep refining it. So before I get into the qualifying video so you can see this car in action under pressure, I just kind of want to tell you how this setup feels and how I expected it to go based off of the feel. So in essence, this setup is a scalpel. Okay, this car is precise and punishing. One wrong move and you can cut an artery. But if you can, be steady-handed and drive really smooth, then it is one of the most stable and placeable setups that you can have. Placeable in the sense of you can just put the car exactly where you want and whatever angle you want. So going into the event, I foresaw two possible outcomes. One was that the scalpel-like nature of the car punishes me and results in me making critical errors and zeroing out in some way or another. And the other outcome is that all my practice pays off. I go God mode and I drive precisely enough to take advantage of the setup. Let me show you the footage and you can see how it went. So going into this qualifying run, I was extremely nervous. My hands were shaking. I could immediately tell that my precision was going to be tested, but I decided I was still going to go for it. I was still going to try to fill the zones completely and not throw a conservative run. So you see me going pretty hard here, and then this is the hardest part of the track, and boom, over rotated. So that zeroed me out on the first qualifying run, but I felt good about how I filled the rest of the zones and how I took the rest of the track. So going into qualifying round number 2, I didn't change a thing. So going into round 2, I calmed my nerves a little bit, but I still was definitely feeling the pressure, feeling the shakes. But I, kept telling myself to be brave and just drive how I was driving in practice. And sadly, I hit the wall there, but I was really proud of how I hit this part here. That was the scariest part of the track. I just threw it in with full commitment, and I got within a millimeter of the wall. It was beautiful. However, I was so proud of it that I hit the wall going into the final zone, and that zeroed out the run. 2 wall taps as a zero. I still popped off because I was so proud and relieved. So going into my battles, I was not concerned about the fact that I qualified with a 00 because that meant I would face a high qualifying driver in my first round, and that means I wasn't going to have to deal with any sort of weird driving. You know, I was going to face a smoother driver, and I actually did end up facing a guy who did a bunch of practice laps with me during the practice rounds, and he pretty much right away just slapped me with experience and knowledge of the rules. I pulled out a little bit too far in front, and I was in an obstructing position, and he totally took advantage of it, flicked into me, totally legal on his part. I was in the way. So boom, right off the bat, I'm pretty much a 0 there. He could have done whatever he wanted after that, and it wouldn't have mattered. So at this point, I'm just driving to show off, driving to, display my skills, and just redeem myself. So it wasn't a complete disgrace right off the rip, but he definitely won that round. Going into my lead, I flipped it too hard. I was trying to force an error out of him, and I forced an error out of myself, and basically just same as the chase run, I made an error on the first corner. Drove pretty nicely for the rest of the course. Hit the big sweeper cleaner than I ever did all day. Really proud of that because it was my last time hitting that sweeper all day. This was my final round of the event. I was defeated by this gentleman, Bernardo, and I believe he reached the top 8. So congratulations, Bernardo. You taught me a lot. Thank you for the lessons and for the good driving. Congratulations. And I'll hope to get you next time, man.
So, in conclusion, I think you guys saw what happened there. I tried to fly a little bit too close to the sun and melted my dang wings off. I can't blame the car for what happened. I pushed too far. I played it too risky, and I paid the price. You know, lessons learned. But it was pretty low stake comp for me. That was round 4 and the last round of the season. A season of which that I did not participate. So it's not like I was in, contesting for ranking or anything like that. I was just there for experience and fun. So, yeah, I really would just like to, use this video to endorse this style of front alignment. Like, I think my droving spoke for itself there. You saw, I'm not a very experienced driver. I've only been at it for about 2 years, and I think I did some really impressive driving on the zones that I didn't crash in, and given a couple more competitions to learn a little bit more of the trials and a little more trial and error learning just how not to make mistakes and zero out, I think I can do really well. And so yeah, I mean, tell me what you think. You saw my driving. Do you think that it was a win for this setup, or do you think the car looked like it drove weird and needs to be reconceptualized? Personally, I like it. I think it drove great, felt good. I just pushed it too far and really tried to extract too much out of it with, just basically tried to drive beyond my ability level, for lack of a better way of saying it. But in conclusion, this has been my 1-month experiment with the 0 spec front alignment. That is 0 caster, nearly 0 camber. Oh, on the camber note, I had an issue with this alignment. When you run no camber, your track width is extremely wide in the front. I had a ton of poke, and in order to meet regulations, I had to minimize my poke to a maximum of 5 millimeters beyond my fender. And I had already maximally shortened my lower control arm, which left me only my upper control arm to shorten. So I was forced to use about 3 degrees of camber. However, that turned out to be perfect for a true 0 flat patch because I have run 3 degrees of camber in the rear, and I broke in my tires on the rear and then swapped them to the front, which gave me a nice, good, true flat patch. So that was one little change I had to make for the competition that actually ended up being an upgrade. So yes, this 0 spec is not true 0. in the sense of zero camber, but it is true zero in the sense of it keeps a zero flat patch nearly through the entire sweep. So that's the philosophy of zero spec. You utilize trail for self-steer instead of utilizing caster. And it creates a much stronger front feel. And in my opinion, it creates for a more accurate driving car. And on that note, I was running 42 gyro gain. It also allowed me to really drop my gain down. Although in retrospect, I think I probably would have benefited from keeping it closer to about 50, just to dampen out the little bobbles and stuff that come from being nervous when you're shaking and filled with adrenaline during competition. So one of the lessons I learned from this and taking away from it is you can't tune your car to your perfect, relaxed, calm, chill, low pressure driving state. You need to tune your car to the state that you'll be in during comp, which is going to be very nervous, anxious, shaky, adrenalized. And I think for that reason, there's some merit to running a little bit more gain than you might like a little more gain than is your limit. So if you say like the limit of your driving you find is at like say 40 gain, you know, that's your limit where you have to be really locked in, but you can still drive the car. I would maybe recommend running a little more gain than that just to have some leeway and some room for error. But yeah, in general, definitely would recommend you try out this setup. If you have a multi-select knuckle with trail and KPI, try out no KPI, no caster, near parallel Ackermann, minimal camber, and 3 mil of negative trail. And see how it feels. You'll get a really strong front. You can drop your gain down and really drive your car precisely and have a lot of direct input through the steering, giving you the ability to just have higher resolution and more accuracy in your placement of the vehicle. So, yep, try out zero spec. It's good. It's comp worthy. Next on the agenda, you might notice this used to be a Yokomo motor, now it's an AccuVance motor. And you also might notice Mitch's 10PX. So I've still got upgrades down the pipeline, more room to improve. Stay tuned. Thanks for checking in. Have a good day.